Hello there, duelists. The original Yu-Gi-Oh series has some of the most iconic moments. Boosted by nostalgia goggles, of course, Dark Magician, Blue Eyes and Red Eyes are still some of the most popular monsters the game has. And then there's Harpie Lady, a level 4, 1300 attack monster with questionable censoring across the cards and piloted by an expert duelist with a 40% on-screen win rate of mine. And it's still relatively popular. Harpie Lady is 19 years old next month. So let's see if it's an experienced high flyer or just a decrepit old bird. Okay, so let's get on into the monsters, most of which are called Harpie Lady. So we've got 3 of the original Harpie Lady, which is really nice. I really like it when, you know, the old cards get out, because again, I think everything kind of prior to, I don't know, this time that I've seen the deck be built, we've kind of cut this card. It's just not really worth running, but with the advent of some support cards and stuff like that, I definitely think it's the pick of choice rather than, you know, I don't know, Cyber Harpie Lady or Harpie Lady 1, 2 or 3. Obviously you can splash 1 or 2 of those in and you probably don't need to play all 3. I think I could definitely see an argument to be said for only playing 2, but I think that the number of cards that actually get this out of deck, I think you kind of want 3. From there, we're running 3 Harpie Channeler. So this is it's actually an older piece of support now, but again, it's, you know, one of Harpie Lady's many pieces of support over the years. So discard a Harpie card, special summon 1 Harpie monster from your deck, face up defense position. You can only activate once per turn, and while there's a dragon on board, it becomes level 7, which is actually really quite useful in some of the other newer support cards. Well, most of the other, in fact, I think all of the other Harpie cards become Harpie Lady while on the field or in the graveyard. From there, running, again, a newer piece of support, I suppose, Harpie Perfumer. So, again, I'm going to choose to ignore the Harpie Lady thing from now on, unless I catch, well, maybe I catch myself just doing it. If it's normal or special summoned, you can add 1 spell or trap card that lists Harpie Lady sisters. If you control level 5 or higher, you can add 2 cards. So you can add one name and 1 of a different, so the second card has to be a different name. From there, we're running 3 Harpie Oracle, and I've seen quite a lot of people run less than that, and again, I think it's kind of up to you how many you run. I quite like it as just an extender, so you can special summon it if you control a Harpie that's level 5 or higher. So, you know, if your Channeler becomes level 7, you can special summon it, or if you control, you know, the Synchro monster. And it's going to get better with the new Harpie Pet Dragon, which is level 7 and can special summon itself out of its hand, so you'll have multiple extenders that way, which is really quite cool. When special summoned, you can, during the end phase, add a card that lists Harpie Lady sisters from your graveyard back to your hand. So it's got a bit of recursion as well. From there, I'm running 1 Harpie Queen, which again, I think you could argue is worth the cut. I still quite like it as a searchable, you know, for the Harpie Hunting Ground. Spoiler alert, we are actually playing that. So you can discard it to add Harpie's Hunting Ground. From there, running our kind of a support engine. So I'm running 2 Garuda the Wind Spirit. So this is just, you know, a way of extending past your opponent's hand traps and stuff like that. I just think it's a useful tech option. And again, I think these are spaces where you know, it's, I suppose, up to a person's personal take on how many of these kind of extenders to run. And from there, we're kind of running, I suppose, these are the bricks of the engine. So we are running a bit of a dragon support engine. So we're running 1 Dragunity Phalanx along with 1 DMZ Dragon. So Dragunity Phalanx can be special summoned if it's equipped to a monster, and that's not once per turn. And then DMZ Dragon, once per turn, you can target a level 4 or lower dragon monster and equip it to a dragon on your side of the field. That monster gains 500 attack for that. So you can see, but again, that's kind of, it's once per turn, but a soft once per turn. So if you special summon back the DMZ Dragon, you're going to get multiple special summons, and that's how we're kind of like putting a lot of monsters on board. And from there, we're running kind of the Samorg bit. So we're running 1 Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds and 1 Mist Valley Apex Avian. And again, I think you could choose to cut 1 of these, I would say, if you wanted to reduce, you know, the number of bricks that you've got in your deck. We do have ways of getting the bricks back into the deck, but it's not part of our linear game path. If we really, you know, we can go into it should we really want to cycle cards back into the deck. I think the only one that's absolutely horrible to draw is the flanks. If you draw flanks, things get a bit clunky, shall we say. And from there, I'm running a play set of hand traps, and again, I'm just running Effect Veiler to keep the cost down, but again, could be whatever you want, Ash Blossom, all that sort of stuff. Okay, and on to the spells and traps. So this section's obviously not as big as the monsters. You know, you are using quite a few monsters because you really need, you know, Harpies in hand in order to make anything kind of go. So yeah, we're running 3 Hysteric Sign. So when it's activated, you can add an Elegant Egotist from your deck to your hand, or from your graveyard to your hand actually, which is something that I kind of forget about, but it's actually not, you know, it's not useful. And then if it's sent from the hand or field to the graveyard during the end phase, you can search 3 Harpie cards with different names, which is absolutely busted. So, you know, getting kind of your block dragon effect on end phase is great. We've got ways of cycling it out of hand. We've not really got too many ways of getting it off field, but there are a few. And again, I think, you know, one of the things is that's holding this deck back is really that Hysteric Sign isn't searchable, so you're kind of reliant on your draws in order to see it, but it's always useful when you do. What I would say is also that Hysteric Sign is only once per turn, so you can't use the add effect and also the end phase search effect, which is a little bit sad, but you know, that's what you get. I'm backing that up with 3 Elegant Egotist. Again, this is one of those things where you could drop it down to 2, should you wish. I'm actually playing the Speed Duel variant because it's the only one that's actually hollow, which is weird. I would have kind of expected this to have a bit more of a following in terms of hollow printings, just because it's obviously a fairly nostalgic card, especially on a Harpie Lady, if you control a Harpie Lady. So obviously this is great. It's good extension. It's not once per turn. You know, it just puts bodies on board. From there, running a few one-of Harpie cards. So I'm running Harpie's Feather Rest, 1 Harpie's Hunting Ground, and 1 Harpie's Feather Duster. So, I suppose Harpie's Feather Duster, classic card. I think the only reason I'm really running it is because it's searchable. I mean, there are obviously quite a few back row decks and it's obviously great, but sometimes it can be a bit of a brick. Harpie's Hunting Ground's very much the same. I think the thing with Harpie's Hunting Ground though is he can end up being useful in order to get rid of any burnt out Hysteric Signs and stuff. Harpie's Feather Rest is great. Target 3 Harpie Lady Harpie Lady Sisters in your graveyard, shuffle them back into the deck, and then draw 1 card. And if you control the level 5 or higher Harpie Lady, when you activate it, you get to draw 2. So that's a good way of recycling cards, just getting draws and stuff like that. It's just a super solid addition to the Harpie lineup. From there, we're playing some support cards. So running 3 Unexpected Dai. So this is just to get Harpie Lady out of the deck to begin with. Then 1 Called by the Grave to kind of stop those hand traps, the stuff that negates the actual effect. To change the name means that Elegant Egotist gets turned off, and that's a really that's a main way of putting more monsters on board is having a Harpie Lady already on board. So you kind of need to have as much disruption as you physically can. 1 Monster Reborn, which could be kind of anything if you wanted, and then finally the 1 Dragunity Divine Lance to kind of kick off your dragon part of your deck. And then for 3 traps, we're running 3 Harpie's Feather Storm, and this card is absolutely unbelievable. I think it was in any competent archetype, it would have gone. So if you control a Wind Beast type monster until the end of your opponent's next turn, until the end of this turn, sorry, should I say, negate the effects of all your opponent's monsters. So that's an activated effect. So if there's any continuous effects or anything like that, that doesn't get negated. But it's still amazing. And then if you control a Harpie monster, you can activate it from your hand, so you can use it like a Call by the Grave or anything like that to disrupt your opponent's hand traps. It's a super solid card, and it's also searchable via your stuff like Hysteric Sign. Obviously, you could run a few other things. So I was running Double or Nothing along with the kind of Utopia package for a while. It adds another brick, but it does kind of claw games back where maybe your opponent's kind of just sitting on a low attack monster, and you kind of plow through all the disruption. It's kind of up to you. I erred on the side of not running an additional brick, but I could see a case for it. Okay, so onto the extra deck. We're running 3 Synchro monsters, 1 Cyber / Harpie Lady, 1 Dragunity Vajrayana, and 1 Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. So Vajrayana, equips Phalanx and then goes immediately into Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, which can negate monster effects. It's normally at the end of the combo, which is a bit sad because Nibiru is going to crush this deck. But it's still a solid kind of end board. You could run Savage Dragon at the end. I quite like having the wind element because it means that, because Harpies for the Rest locks you into only special summoning wind monsters. So yeah, I mean, again, it's not absolutely crucial, but I kind of liked the utility of Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Cyber / Harpie Lady, it's treated as a Harpie Lady again. And then if you activate a spell or trap during either player's turn, you can bounce a monster on the field, which is obviously super solid. It doesn't get used that much, if I'm being honest. I think it's probably a cuttable slot, which is sad because I like the card. It's just it doesn't put enough out. So yeah. So then we're on to the links, which builds up the vast majority of this. So we're running one Imduk, the World Chalice Dragon, one Guardragon Elpy, and one Guardragon Pisty. They might as well be Dragunities. Well, I suppose they might as well be any dragon archetype, mightn't they? So Imduk, the World Chalice Dragon, the monster effect is kind of irrelevant. It's the fact that you can use a normal monster to go to a dragon, which means that Channeler becomes level 7, which is really, really good, because it means it turns on your Oracle, it makes your Perfumer search a lot better as well. LP obviously summons a dragon to a zone that 2 link monsters point to from your deck or hand, and Guardragon Pisty does the same but from the graveyard or banish zone. Into link 2s, we're running one Harpie Conductor, one Barricadeborg Blocker, one Tri-Brigade Ferrijit. So Harpie Conductor, again, is probably a cuttable slot. I quite like it. So again, you can use 2 wind monsters to go to it, so it can, clear up some of the monsters if they're doing it. Then if a Harpie monster would be destroyed by a battle card effect, you can destroy a spell or trap card you control instead. And then if another Harpie monster you control returns to the hand, you can target one special summon monster your opponent controls and return that to the hand. So again, you could argue maybe there's some synergy with the Cyber Slash, and I think with Dancer and stuff like that, which I'm not playing, you could see where that would go. But yeah, I'm kind of just playing it really because it's a Harpie name. Barricadeborg Blocker, I'm really running because it triggers Hysteric Sign. So if you've got Hysteric Sign in hand, through your combo, you can go to Barricadeborg Blocker, discard the Hysteric Sign, and then during the end phase, you get to add the Hysteric Sign back, as well as getting the search, which is absolutely incredible. And then the Tri-Brigade is basically because I want a way to get into Smorg with just the Perfumer and a card in hand. You can do it by playing more extra deck slots like Crystal Halka, which I'm actually not playing, and a few more bricks, but I actually opted just to go for the Tri-Brigade card and then, kind of hope that you've got a summonable monster in hand, just because I really wanted to crush down on the number of bricks in the deck just to make it a little bit more consistent. From there, I'm running a few Dragon Link 2, so I'm running 2 Romulus, which is the searcher for your Dragunity Divine Lance, and then a 1 Protector Whelp, which, again, could really be anything. I quite like Protector Whelp because it's any 2 monsters and it's a dragon, so if you're locked into the Guardragon plays, but you want to keep a certain thing on board, you can still go to Protector Whelp. From there, running our higher link monsters, so 1 Smorg, 1 Mekk-Knight Crusader Evermax, and 1 Appaloosa. So Smorg is obviously an absolute beast. During the end phase, you get special summon from your deck or hand a monster that's level is lower than the number of free monster spell and trap slots, which is a weird kind of. I'm not really super keen on the way that the small stuff kind of went, but again, it's a great card. Most of the time, you get to summon whatever you want, and then anything that it points to can't be targeted, including itself. So, Mekk-Knight Crusader Evermax, obviously, if it's destroyed and sent to the graveyard, it gets a non-target spinner card. You can also boost the attack of it by the attack of the special summon monster if it's battling, and monsters have to attack it, which is a great way of protecting your barrier statue of the Stormwinds. And then finally Appaloosa, just monster disruption, but also it's quite interesting because it's also a wind attribute. So if you've had to use your Harpie Feather Rest in order to do something, you can still put on a serious amount of negates on board with the Appaloosa. All right. So concluding, I actually like Harpie way more than I thought I would. I kind of had a quick look at them after, some support got released in Duel Links, like literally every other person who plays Duel Links. Because this is one of the decks that I actually inherited from one of my mates who quit the game. But it's actually quite fun. It's always good to see the classic cards see play almost 20 years on. They are susceptible to a hand trap in the wrong place, especially if you've got no kind of disruption to counter it. And also stuff that negates the name changing effect renders a lot of the strategy, you know, kind of completely gone. But they do have ways of extending. So it's a 3 for relevance. The boards they put up are nothing really to be scoffed at. As for the fun factor, Harpies are fairly linear kind of once you get into kind of the line. However, there's quite a few choices and options, you know, with starting up and ending on the combo. The midsection is obviously quite linear, but the surrounding bits are, you know, a bit more optional. And there's a load of tech cards that you can, you know, pitch in, you know, as stated, you know, Utopia, other, you know, kind of Wing Beast type stuff, or the Dragon stuff that you could easily splash in. So it's another 3 for the fun factor. The cost of this deck is actually a bit higher than I was expecting, and it's definitely a bit high for, you know, a casual strategy. I've estimated this deck at $220 from TCG Player. This isn't breaking the bank, but it's by no means a budget option. So, with that all concluded, are Harpies still a force to be reckoned with? Let me know and check out the channel for other videos.